Would you join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Owen? Here. Lace? Childers? Here. Lee?
Here.
Heller? Sullivan? And Grant? Here.
Okay, first item of business is 207's Best Award for Community Service. Start with Main East.
Very good. Hi, everybody. Very, very pleased to introduce our 207's Best for Community Service, Dai Karutalako. So let me tell you a little bit about Dai. First got to know him in his sophomore year. He's been on the principal's leadership team now for 3 years. And he was recommended by a couple of teachers in the building, said, nice guy, you want to get to know the student. And sat down, and I was very impressed with him from the very first time we met, because he just has a very nice way about him. And in a group which has had a lot of seniors and a lot of juniors and only about, I think, 3 or 4 sophomores, he was pretty comfortable kind of speaking up and saying his piece in a way that when Adai spoke, everybody listened and was like, no, that's a good point of view, it's okay. And I really missed Adai when he couldn't make it to a meeting sometimes, so I've had a chance to work with him over a period of time. When we put out the call for 207's Best, this was another one of these instances where I had 5 or 6 teachers who, independent of one another, the name came up amongst a field of several really, really solid kids in terms of community service. I want to read just a couple of excerpts here. Of course, Adai's got a good solid GPA, and he's been in AP just about everything as he's gone through. He's been a very, very strong member of Gifted Lyceum. And it's through Gifted Lyceum he's actually done a lot of his community service that's most visible at Main East, although he's been very active in his community at church as well. But Susie Caliendo is his counselor, and Ms. Caliendo came in, sort of inherited Adai last year when John Tyler retired, so she got to know him midstream. And this was her account. She said, my first contact with Adai was last fall when he was in the process of organizing a large service project here at school. He contacted me directly to share the details of his project and seek the follow-up support of our counseling department at school. He was organized, thorough, and remarkably articulate. Adai had established positive contact with Erica's Lighthouse, a local organization established to educate about depression, planned the details of the program designed to teach his fellow students about depression, and coordinated the schedule with our health teachers and counseling staff. The end result was a tremendously successful informational session that also led to many struggling students connecting with counseling resources here at school. Noteworthy here, it was a model community health program organized with the precision of a graduate student by a 16-year-old boy. I learned at that point that Adai was someone to watch. The other accounts, Judy Tyler's worked with Adai and is so thankful for him and the way that he organizes, because, you know, Judy, keeps a lot of plates spinning all the time. And in Lyceum, Adai is the go-to guy who really kind of helps things happen on the project board and things are going on. So, done a tremendous amount there. Chris Peters, one of our cross-country coach, social science teacher, went with the Lyceum students on their service trip and hadn't really gotten to know Adai ahead of time and just was so impressed with him in terms of first in, the last out, really some disgusting, dirty jobs, and he didn't back away. He was willing to roll up his shirt sleeves and go to work. So he is just an amazing young man, very proud. I am very pleased to have gotten to know him these last 3 years, and I'm sure he is going to just rock it when he leaves his place. So congratulations, Adai. So who's here with you tonight?
This is my mom, Mariama, and this is my dad, Matthew.
Very good. And what are your plans next year?
Next year, I plan to pursue pre-med studies either at Drexel University, Temple University, Seton Hall, or locally at UIC.
Good.
Come on up tonight, we have a few parting gifts for you. Very good work. Congratulations.
Very proud to present Michael Beverman
Sullivan as Maine South's 207's Best for Community Service. I want to share with you a couple anecdotes about Mike. First of all, if you say Mike Deverman to anybody in our school, kids and teachers like, it's brick guy. I mean, it's almost immediate out of everyone's mouth. Everyone knows Michael. I'm going to take that to the first little story about him. This year, when our new APS joined Maine South, he said, why don't we have some kids talk to the parents on freshman orientation night about what they should be thinking about now that their child is starting high school. And so Mike stepped forward along with Siobhan O'Sullivan, and what I can tell you is you would have thought adults scripted what he and Siobhan put together. It was incredible. It was all the best advice you could ever give a parent about what their child was about to go through. The incredible insight that he had. And he also then told this little story about wanting to drop photo, and his parents wouldn't let him do it. You're not dropping that class. Well, the reason everyone knows Mike is because Mike is the photo editor of Southwards now. Like this. Really, it's almost like a full-time job for him, and he's everywhere. But what great advice and just that willingness to give back. But on a grander scale, one of the things that Mike is an Eagle Scout, and he has been giving back through not only to the community that way, but his big Eagle Scout project was pretty impressive, and it really is something that he's going to carry forward with what you'll hear he's thinking about doing. Just a real little snippet here. He realized how he could combine his interest in the environment and design after he created a wildlife butterfly garden as part of his Boy Scout Eagle Leadership Service project. Mike organized over 100 volunteers who contributed almost 500 hours of community service to make the garden a reality. Huge undertaking, organizing just a high number of people together to make this butterfly garden for a senior center. And so just the center of just a really nice thing for the people who live there. But not only that, I mean, he's worked in Chicago, helping out with the Chicago Architecture Foundation. He works with seniors with Alzheimer's disease. He works with homeless kids. He does teen ministry at his church. It's sort of never ending. It's this continual giving back. And I think another illustration of that, which just makes Michael so impressive, was Mr. Stock took a quote from something that Michael had written about his essay on the book Into the Wild. So I'm going to share this with you. The human connection makes all the hard work and all the sweat of a service project, building habitat homes, something else that he does, worthwhile. After building the family home, an idea germinated in the bare dirt and parched grass of the family yard. I decided on the spot that I would build a tree house for the children. Christopher McCandless of Into the Wild mistakes distance with depth. I'm a nature writer who has found deeper connections right in my own backyard. We should all strive for the human connection with our own self-reliance. I share McCandless's quote, happiness is only real when shared. And I think that really is, you could, I wouldn't suggest it, but you could tattoo that on your arm, because that's who Mike is. Don't give permission. It was a bad, maybe a bad, still get a tattoo, right? But really, it sums up who Mike is. You know, the Habitat House isn't enough. He wants to do a little bit more for the kids. Working with seniors with Alzheimer's isn't enough. He wants to give a little more back to the community. And then the guy comes up to me and says, hey, I think I could do something with your courtyard this year as a senior project. So, or just giving the senior class gift. So Mike, I can't say enough about you. You're incredibly impressive, and we're very proud of you at South. And excited to hear who you have with you tonight and what you're thinking about doing in the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mesner. I have my two wonderful parents, Ron Deverman and Mary Nolan. They're my inspiration behind everything I do. My plans for the future are that I am going to continue with my efforts with community gardening and my other community service projects. I've created a project initiative called See the Future, which stands for Sustainable Environmental Friendly Effort. Yes, I have business cards.
Business cards. Sure, Mike can take care of you later if you want to see it.
But I plan to continue with my efforts with that, and one of my next projects is right here at Maine South, and I hope to create a community and a native plant and butterfly garden here in Maine South commemorating the 50th anniversary. My plans for college are that I want to go to the Illinois Institute of Technology, where I've narrowed down my passion to be landscape architecture. I hope in the future to take this thing that I've created, see the future to my career, and hopefully turn into a small business when I'm older.
My name
Karen Hunt from Maine West, Audrey.
Yes, it's my honor to introduce to you Jacqueline, nobody knows her as Jacqueline. This is Gigi Ortiz, who is our nomination for community service at Maine West. Gigi started her career at Maine West as a very quiet but diligent student, a kid that you really would like to have in class. Getting her straight A's, running on the cross-country team, just going about her business, doing her own thing. Until she got into Mr. Harper's class, where Mr. Harper did not allow her to sit quietly and just do her work. She did all her reading, she did all of her assignments, but Mr. Harper, who's standing back there with her, had to light a little bit of a fire under her because she did not want to speak in class. She didn't like to share her opinions, she didn't want to take part in discussions. She thought it was okay to just do her work, keep her head down, not share what she was thinking. She didn't do as well as she wanted to in the first semester, so she did a little self-reflection and decided that in the second semester she better start speaking up. And she turned herself around in terms of raising her hand, being braver each time she walked into the classroom, and did really well in Mr. Harper's class. And then as a junior, she wandered into a meeting with some of her friends. She wasn't planning on being there, she just wandered in, and they were talking about a contest for the group at Maine West called Voice for the Nameless. And almost on the spot, I understand, she just came up with a really cool slogan, which was a photojournalism contest called, and her slogan was, speak out against human trafficking, give them a face, give them a voice. So this quiet young lady who didn't have a voice for herself all of a sudden is giving a voice to the nameless and got really involved in that group, and is now one of the leaders of that organization that also works with Amnesty International. Mr. Harper says she has the ability to organize a meeting and effectively help raise awareness among her peers on pressing human rights issues, while envisioning and researching ways we can be involved in direct action to help protect human rights. She's an invaluable member. She's now a leader of that team, of that group. She's also captain of the cross-country team, and captain as a junior, actually. So this young lady who, as a freshman and first semester of her sophomore year, really came around, found a voice for herself. She has a 4.7 GPA. She's at the top of her class, and she's just an amazing young lady at Maine West. So we would like to honor Gigi Ortiz as 207's best. Gigi, who's here with you?
This is my mom, Elisa. This is my little brother, Ryan, and that's my teacher, Mr. Harper.
Excellent. And what are your plans next year?
To study pre-medicine. Not really sure where yet.
And what do you see yourself doing?
Like doing the
Yeah.
well, in the near future, like NHS, I'm the head of quarter 2 team, and we're doing like a bunch of like holiday drives, like hat and scarf drives, toy drives for children, and then I hope like later in life I like am really involved with my community.
Excellent. Nice job, Gigi.
I'll be sure the best, okay?
Di, Michael and Gigi, if you'd like to step out into the hall with your principals and Mr. Berry, I'm going to take some pictures. It's your opportunity to leave the meeting now if you'd like. You're welcome to stay, but we'll be at the business meeting from here on. So it's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
Next item, Jenny, do you have any cards for public comment? some updates from superintendent and board members. Ken?
No, I'll say my thing.
Okay, board member updates, Mary?
I attended a concert at Maine East 2 Fridays ago. It was their fall concert in the brand new auditorium, and it was a wonderful experience.
Thank you. Other comments? We're going to defer item C until later as a board member for Mr. Lays, who is running a little late this evening. Item D, Education Committee update. Donna?
I'll turn this over to Barb if she's here. I think
She's not here.
So, let's see, what did we discuss? We were discussing alternative high school credits. In the past, when these type of things were developed and the policies made, the internet was not as available. Now with internet classes that are prevalent, we feel that we can allow our students to take extra courses. In the past, it was 2 they could take, we'd like to move up to 6, with the caveat that they be approved prior to taking these classes. And we're also interested in improving our teacher quality, and we're offering a lot of professional growth and staff development. Is there anything else from the education?
Will the committee be bringing forward a policy change for the alternative credit?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Finance Committee, Sean?
We did not have a quorum on the 24th, however, we did have a discussion concerning the tax levy as well as the possibility of abatement. And then after we adjourned after that hour, there was a quorum, we then discussed it because we all were there at that point in time. However, Mary's anything else you might have?
No, we also talked about the per capita tuition chart, which is the board agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Any other monthly finance report, Mary?
In your packet is the September financial report. On the revenue side, we are pretty much in line with previous years with the exception of debt service, and that's because we abated taxes. So you can see that the transfer will actually occur from the ed fund to the debt service fund in November, so that they have the funds in there to make the December debt payments. On the expenditure sides, we are in line with previous years. The funds that have greater than 25% expended of their budget is because they're capital funds like O&M and health, life, safety, where those projects are done during the summer when students aren't here. So that's why you'll see those expenditures higher than the portion of the fiscal year that's complete. I will entertain any questions that anybody has in September financials.
What is the Bacon Scholarship Fund? I don't.
Oh, that's, 2 or 3 years ago, a former art teacher at Maine East had passed away, and we discovered that in his will, he left all of his assets, his entire estate, to Maine Township for the purpose of providing art scholarships to students at Maine East. So we have put those funds in a dedicated fund, we're investing them, and each year we award a reoccurring $4,000 scholarship to a student graduating from Maine East who's pursuing a degree in the arts. And actually, it has to be an art degree.
Yeah, visual art.
I see that I did 4,000.
Next item is instructional services, new course proposals.
You've got new course proposals in your packet. These are for information only tonight. First reading, we would ask the board to take action next month. But I believe that these are one of 2 types of courses, either name changes and or some courses to fulfill a sequence. Within most of these are like CTE. So these are just a first reading tonight.
Okay, so they'll be back on the agenda
They'll be
for.
back on the agenda for December.
Are they gonna be discussed in a committee?
They could be.
Oh, well, the childcare occupations for preschool, I mean, that seems to be a very growing area, and it's going from 1.5 periods to 1 period, I just kind of was curious.
The reason for that is really just a matter of enrollment, because the period and a half class is very difficult to schedule. Some students don't have the ability to enroll, so actually when we went, we piloted this a few years ago at East, and we actually increased enrollments because kids were able to schedule a single period where they were not able to schedule the period and a half
Oh,
class.
good, that would have been helpful, that was in here, that's great. And then, the finance and investing is only at South, it's the only school that has capability for implementing it?
I don't know that I would say that.
Why is it only at South?
They're the only building that asks for it, but once we approve a course, it can be run at any of the 3 buildings.
I had a question on business careers. Is that a class that they used to have and now it's being replaced with virtual
Yes,
enterprise
yes,
international?
yes, it's
Virtual enterprise international. What is that exactly?
It's a much more, business careers has been it's an outdated class now. What this does is actually, you go online and you run a business online so that you're actually looking into careers. You do projects online, you get funding, et cetera, for your business. So it's much more interactive. It's got the same components as business careers, only it's much more perfect.
Is it an actual international organization that created this? Is it?
I'm not 100% sure about the international, but I know that you are connecting with other schools that run this program throughout the United States.
So it's a program that just.
And so, for example, our SBS director from St. Charles has this program, so it's sort of broader.
It is a worldwide learning community, it says in the information. So it's a virtual enterprise institute utilizing 21st century technology to virtually integrate authentic learning experiences, creating an online worldwide learning community.
So is it a 1 semester class? Is that what it is, 1 class?
It is 1 class, 1 semester.
1 year.
No, it's just 1 year.
1
year.
year.
Sorry, 1 year, the finance one. 1 semester.
Echo Canada, but still, virtual enterprise international, it just really doesn't fit into this business career. This particular wording wise, we already made a decision on this, or?
We have no choice in it. We have to call it that class in order to be able to use the curriculum.
That title has to be in your title.
Yeah, in our career and technical education fields, actually in the term career and technical education is a term that's come about in the last couple of years. It replaces our applied arts. So what has happened in that curriculum over the last few years is that they've done a lot of title changes in the curriculum to reflect both new language, but then also new curriculum within the framework.
Who determines those titles?
Well, some of these are state of Illinois, some of these would be, like for example, in the Project Lead the Way curriculum that we have, that's a national curriculum, so if you adopt the curriculum, you've got to adopt the courses and particular sequences that they have to offer.
Okay, no problem. What's the difference between symphonic and philharmonic?
The reason they've requested this course change is that technically a philharmonic orchestra is many instruments, many timbres, but I don't know if we want to get down there. We needed another name for another orchestra because we have different levels. The problem is that we had basically 2 different sequences in the orchestra strand called symphonic orchestra, and so each, I think all 3 buildings have multiple sections, and the counselors couldn't differentiate which section to place students in, which resulted in instrumental imbalances. As specifically, you've got to place the right number of instruments in for the ensemble to work.
So this is more of an umbrella term?
Yeah.
Okay, because when I was at that concert at Maine East and it said Philharmonic, I said, what does that mean? What does Philharmonic mean? And so of course I went to Google and found out that it's a love of harmony. It's Philos, love, and love of harmony. So now I understand it's bigger than a symphony. So going back to finance and investing, is this something that Dr. Hagen and Professor are interested in?
Not at this time. We're looking to see what the curriculum is and how it goes at Mid-South.
So these others, it started at all three at the same time, but this one you're only doing it.
Yeah.
Because we had some student interest kind of bubble up, and so we felt this would be a viable option for kids who want to, who have that kind of bent. So we think we would be able to fulfill a class. Sometimes that's what happens is one school gets it going and then the other schools pick it up as it builds interest.
So the bubbles from the other schools haven't come up yet.
Well, no, I'm sure there were things that we've taken from some of the.
But in this particular thing, which is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Next item, monthly update on FOIA requests.
We have 7 this month that are either processed or in the process of being processed.
Okay. Thank you. Next item is the tentative school calendar for the next 3 school years. Greg?
Yeah, as required, our calendar committee meets and puts together sample calendars for the board to review. It's informational this month. It'll be an action item next month. These 3 calendars are more of our traditional calendar. However, I can tell you that the committee is also examining some variations of calendars such that winter break would, final exams would end prior to winter break. That's something that in one of our surveys that we've done a few years ago that students expressed an interest in. However, anytime you change a calendar, you quickly learn that you can only please some of the people some of the time. We still have 179 school days and 185 total days to fit in that calendar. So the question is, do you start earlier? Do you end earlier then? Do you not take as many school holidays? Do you shorten vacations? But the key thing is to make sure that the semesters are fairly balanced. But we're looking at that.
Do you work with the elementary school boards? I mean, how does that all get coordinated? And do you do something besides 62, 63, and 64?
Well, we do work with them. I'm on the 64 calendar committee, so I visit with them on an annual basis. Basically, they just ask us to share our calendars with them, and that they can model theirs off of ours to a certain degree. The length of quarters and semesters aren't as big of a concern for them as what they've told me, but for us, because we have so many quarter and semester classes, it is important. And so we want to just make sure we try to coordinate vacations, obviously, for families. One of the issues that the elementary district, at least one of the elementary districts that I'm familiar has, is not every one of their elementary buildings is air conditioned. So it would be a bigger concern for them to start earlier in August, versus later.
Is there anyone besides those 3 districts, the elementary districts, that you have to coordinate with?
I mean, we have shared our calendars with some of the privates, but those are our big 3, enrollment centers.
I just wanted to mention that you might want to consider, I don't know if this would throw anything off, but listing the first day of classes for students, which right now that doesn't show up anywhere there, it just says first day, but that's really the institute.
Sure.
The institute, it's just can be a little confusing.
Sure. So, yeah, we can put that in the legend, first day of
And
class.
that calendar's out there for parents, they can actually get to these calendars.
Yes.
Even when the school calendars might not be up, so just a suggestion.
Sean, do you have a question over there?
It was answered by Mary's question.
Item 8 is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I'll move it. I'll move it.
I'll second.
Uh,
I do have a question.
On the consent agenda?
Well, I guess item number 8, regarding discipline consideration for one book relationship. Is one of the items?
Yes.
Yes, no, we have a motion and a second, so it's open for discussion.
Yes.
I think this is great things to see River Casino is differing in the cost for the Chromebooks for $68,585 donation. And just wondering what is the current status of how Chromebooks has been used by classes overall. I hear many good things. At the same time, it still needs to have a lot of improvements to be done, and still let the student know about how the Chromebook may be able to use, how the classes has been using properly, regarding the maintenance of the Chromebooks and so on. Specifically, could you, can someone share with me about this, how this money, $68,585 will be supposed to use? Is it for one individual school, or if all of the school, or what? That's my first question.
Because of the way the casino grants work on the education side, when we get grants from the casino, it's specifically for Maine West because they focus those grants in their district area. So this specific grant is going to be used to help offset the cost of Chromebooks for students on free and reduced lunch, which the district would buy those in any of the 3 areas. And this will partially offset the cost of Maine West for those Chromebooks. So that's why West, and that's specifically why the grant will be, how the grant will be used.
And also, let's see, regarding the maintenance of this Chromebook cleaning, I see a lot of students may able to maintain their Chromebook computer through using a different chemical goods. If not, I heard it is highly recommended to use a proper towel or microfiber cloth and wipe down the kids and everything. And sometimes maybe the kids overlook that and maybe not able to utilize it, and maybe causing more damage in the future and might cause more. Was wondering if there's any possibility of our school could able to provide or sponsor this microfiber cloth wipe to the student, like a free giveaway to taking care of their Chromebooks too. I don't know if there's any financial possibility there is or not.
I'm not sure. I haven't. That's the first time I've heard the question. But what we do have in each of the buildings is we have a Chrome Depot set up where a lot of the general maintenance cares for the books are taking place. But it's a good question about the the microfiber or something to wipe that down. I haven't had that one posed, and Hank is not here, so I'm probably not able to give you as good an answer on that, Jim, as Hank could probably provide. But I can certainly find out.
And also the statistic data for using the Chromebook policy District 207, I see from the newsletter from Maine East, for example, based on the polls that they had taken, and students in favor of the Chromebooks is 97 out of 130, which is 1/4, which is good. And at the same time, students against the Chromebooks about 33, so about 1/4. So with that in mind, I think I guess the district needs to do more marketing promotion on how to easily use such and adaptable on this particular books. So when I was looking at it, this is also in the newsletter too, but it says it's sometimes hard to use the Chromebook since teachers have to convert all of their PowerPoints and documents to Google Docs. And then someone also mentioning that they're saying that I think that teaching should be a balance between using technology and traditional teaching. There is still a lot to say about students holding a pencil in their hands and reading the textbook versus using the Chromebook. Someone was mentioning about that too. But anyway, the percentage, the number-wise, I think we still need to continue promote utilizing easy access to this Chromebook into our classes and also teachers.
Well, the good news is we have more Google certified trainers than any organization in the world. So we have a lot of professional development going on just that mission. In fact, last month at our meeting, we have our first student who is a Google certified trainer that we gave an award to last month. So we've been training a Google certified student trainer in each building. It's a work in progress, and we knew that anytime you begin a journey on one-to-one devices, it takes some time to grow capacity. We have some teachers that are a little further ahead of others, but we're training all of them. In fact, we have a team of teachers right now up in Wisconsin at a Google symposium. So we have teachers here that are still learning, but we have many teachers who are teaching other teachers, not only here in this district, but across the country, how to use the Google Education apps in a way that can help connect the students. But it's a little bit different in each one of the buildings, and it's a little bit different, frankly, from classroom to classroom. So I agree, and it is a work in progress, but we're hopefully well positioned to meet those needs.
And just one issue related to, you called before, I think this is definitely a good thing to have, this technology department to help assist anybody who might need help through this. We have this Chrome depot in all three schools?
Yes,
or?
yes. And one of the things Jen and I talked a little bit before the beginning of the meeting, what we'll do is survey the board members and see if we want to maybe set a visit up to go into some of the buildings and see how the Chromebooks are being used. If that's helpful for board members, we can facilitate that. It's okay.
Any other questions on the consent agenda? Okay, we have a motion, second, Ginny, take the roll.
Lee?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Childers?
Aye.
Heller? Aye. Sullivan?
Aye.
McGrath?
Aye. Item number 9 is the summer school calendar for 2014.
So moved.
So moved. Sullivan, Heller. Barb is not here, and Greg or Ken?
It's, and Greg can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a similar calendar to what we have done the last maybe 3 or 4 years. 2 semesters of 14 days, 12 days, excuse me.
3 4-week period,
Okay, I stand corrected, 3 4 week period.
4-day period.
Yes. Okay, so similar to what we have done, and we have a fairly tight window of when we can fit summer school in. We generally start within about a week of the end of school and want to end then a couple of weeks before the beginning of the next school year. So we're going to school just about year-round as it exists right now.
I do have one question. It starts on a Tuesday instead of a Monday?
In case there's a snow day and they need another extra day to do some summer school course recommendations, they always give that extra day on that Monday to get kids into the right courses.
By the time they get the grades in from the teachers, to find out if students have failed a course and need to repeat it in summer school, they just need that extra day.
Okay. Are there any other questions on item 9? If not, Ginny, would you call the roll, please?
Heller? Lee?
Aye.
Childers?
Aye.
Lays?
Aye.
McGrath?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Aye.
Owen? Aye.
Item 10 is the 2013 tax levy, and is there a motion that the Board of Education establish an estimated levy in the amount of $111,549,554, which represents a 3.37 increase over the prior year extension? Sullivan? Howard. Mary, would you like to walk us through why you are recommending this?
Sure. The proposed tax levy, and I'll point out that the 3.37% increase is not what we anticipate receiving. We anticipate receiving less than that, but we always levy for additional new growth. If the new growth doesn't materialize, it just means that we will not collect money on that property because it doesn't exist. However, we go into the levy process not knowing how much new property is coming on the tax rolls. So we look at historical levels, but if a property gets reclassified onto the tax rolls, an existing building can do that. So it's kind of a surprise. We This levy has the debt service fund at the full amount. However, I fully anticipate that in December, when we adopt the levy, we will also be adopting an abatement for that portion. So the actual levy will be about $1.4 million less than the number we see after the abatement, because I believe that we will continue our tradition of abating the debt service fund.
So how much of the additional, of the increase is attributable to new growth?
Of the increase, which is in terms of dollars, a $2.7 million increase, $926,000 is new growth. So 1/3. And of the amount that we actually anticipate, we levy for 40 million in new growth. We think we're gonna get about 20 million. So, but the different, you cannot collect taxes on new growth that doesn't exist. So by levying for 40 million, doesn't mean anybody is going to pay more money. It just means that our levy will be reduced to the level of new growth.
And if we ask for less than what the actual new growth is?
Then we lose access to those funds forever. So you have to blindly levy for new growth. So it's better, in my opinion, to be high and have it reduced than to not have asked for enough now, and you find that you cannot then access your new growth. Ever.
Is that a state law?
It is how the property tax caps were written, that the only time that you can gain access to new growth is the year that it comes onto the tax rolls. So, and I've been surprised in the past when a giant building has been reclassified from tax exempt to taxable. That's new growth, even though it's not a brand new building. So it's for those types of surprises that I like to give us a little bit of cushion, because you never know when an existing property will lose the tax exempt status.
Unfortunately, quite often goes the other.
Yes. We will be holding a public hearing in December prior to the board meeting. In December is when we formally adopt the levy, and then we have until the last Tuesday in December to file it with the county.
Any other important factors, or you covered everything you need to know?
It's based on a 1.7% CPI. So existing properties, if all assessments were created equal, would see a 1.7% increase in the taxes, because that's what the consumer will allow us to access.
Are there any questions for Mary?
I would just make a comment that I'm pleased to see that there's continued thought and orientation toward abating taxes. And some, like what I've heard lately, that there's thought that the next 2 years there would likely be an abatement, which is going to be years 2 and 3. So that's, I think, great news for the taxpayer of District 207. And also, there's a good example of the prudent fiscal management that's in place here. So.
Additional comments? Can you just call it up, please?
Lays.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Bowen. Aye. Childers. Aye. Sullivan. Keller. McGrath.
Aye. Next item is the insurance renewal. The recommendation that the Board of Education approve health insurance rates for calendar year 2014 as presented. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Childers? Owen? Mary?
In 2014, because we were above our 5% per employee per month cap, we will be seeing some plan design changes, most notably, and some co-payments and the deductible increasing. The premiums are slated starting January 1st to go up 3.58% on the PPOs and 5.56% on the HMOs. Over 1% of that is due to changes that we must comply with and additional fees because of the Affordable Care Act. That really makes me happy. So you can see we gave a list of over 10 items that we must comply with during this next year because of the Affordable Care Act. And we know that regulations are being written, it seems like every month on this, so we continue to monitor this very closely to make sure we're in compliance.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
One of them is the ensuring that we are offering medical benefits to substitute teachers. And if we were offering benefits to 100% of our regular staff, you know, the Affordable Care Act only requires us to cover 95% of our full-time staff. Have we done an analysis to see whether or not we need to cover substitute teachers in order to make sure that we are covering at least that 95%?
Well, what we are doing is tracking, so I've got a ginormous spreadsheet that anybody who may potentially work on average more than 30 hours or more during our 9-month look-back period, I've got a spreadsheet listing them out.
Do we have an established safe harbor?
Yeah, I mean,
Some of the safe harbors for look-backs?
I think that, well, I think that if it's going to be anybody on the spreadsheet that pops, it might be 1 or 2 people, so we'll be well above that 95% threshold. So I'm not worried about that, it's just, and our substitutes, if you are a long-term sub for more than a semester, we put you on contract and offer you benefits. So it's not, I don't think that there's a high likelihood that there's going to be a long-term sub that also then, during the period that they're not long-term subbing, is averaging 30 hours or more a week.
Well, because they can't work more than a certain number of days a calendar year, or a school year.
They can now.
Yeah, that law was
Yeah,
changed
they changed that law.
about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
But we also.
Unless they're a retiree, excuse me, unless they're currently retired in the system.
But if they're not retired from the system,
It used to be they were limited to 90 days on a regular Type 39 sub-certificate or 120 days per year if they had a valid teaching certificate. And now it's unlimited.
And we've also, our part-time threshold, we tried to put them at 25 hours, so in case they pick up like an athletic supervision and that throws them, and they do 2 in a week, that they will not still exceed that 30-hour average.
It's a good thing because we had substitutes that were hitting their threshold and we couldn't hire them anymore, and then they went and filed for unemployment and we lost, and we were paying unemployment.
On part-time?
Yeah, during the school years. During the summer, they're exempt, but during the school year, if they reach their 90 days after, February, so it was good in that regard.
Quick question, how competitive are we getting the bids from other insurance, for example, other companies? Are we regularly?
Because we're self-insured, you're talking about just the fixed costs, and just about every year, with the exception of the HMO physician charges, which are set by Blue Cross Blue Shield, our fixed costs have been going down. So Blue Cross has been providing us with a very competitive quote. We have not gone out and sought quotes from like United Healthcare and stuff, because we believe that Blue Cross has the biggest discounts. And because we're self-insured, we might be able to save maybe a little bit on fixed costs with another provider, but because those discounts are as big, we would be paying more overall.
As long as we're clear with that.
Mary, what changes will the employees see as a result of the Affordable Care Act in 2014? some of these things probably were already in place, right?
Well, the first thing they'll see is we never covered adult wellness. So, so it's gone from being not covered to covered completely, not even subject to your deductible. So if you go in and get a physical, that physical that you used to pay 100% for, you will now pay 0 for. And so on and so forth with other, well, you know, mammograms, pap smears. If you know, they've been seeing it, they've been seeing the flexible spending limit was this year.
The interior limits?
The interior limits, we had a number of people who were hitting those interior limits. Now,
2014, that goes away.
that goes away. We never had anybody come close to the $2 million maximum, but now it's unlimited. So in the future, you know, that could be something that our employees see.
Were we covering dependents up to age 26
We
already?
were, because Illinois had passed a law prior to this one that required us, but prior to that, we were just covering them if they were full-time students to the age of 24. My favorite comment by an employee was when their child turned 26, he just said, okay, well, they'll just have their employer now cover them because they're eligible for benefits. They get benefits from their employer, and it was like, something is wrong if you can still be covered under our plan and have a full-time job that is also providing you benefits.
But there are benefits that are going to be increasing this coming year.
Yes, there are a number of benefits that are increasing. And we have no choice.
You have, one of the things that this plan has done is it has been grandfathered until January 1st, 2014.
Correct.
Because of the structure you have taken in terms of increasing your premiums, co-payments, et cetera. So maintain that grandfather status and up until this point in time. Right. Thank you. Are there any questions, any other questions about the insurance renewal? If not, please take the roll.
Keller? Sullivan? Owen? Lays? Reed?
Aye.
Childers? McGrath?
Aye. Item 12 is the board policy 6003, student residency requires non-resident students to be charged tuition. And this is a resolution to set the tuition for the 2013-14 at $15,771.63 per pupil, an increase of 3.5% over last year. Is there a motion? Sullivan? Keller? Are there any questions or comments? Jen?
Question. Regarding non-resident students, how do they get charged for this 50,000 plus fees? And then how do we verify if a non-resident students compared to resident student? And then what is the approximate percentage we have for non-resident students in Main Township area who is affected this situation?
We have a residency verification process now related to enrollment. So every year when students come to enroll, they have to verify residency. For students who are non-residents, sometimes they approach us and say, we'd like to enroll at your school and pay tuition. Sometimes we catch them trying to enroll and they're not residents. In either case, if they're a non-resident, they're required to pay tuition in order to go to school. Where we don't have to allow a non-resident to attend District 207 schools. We have a handful of students, probably fewer than 10 in the whole district that pay tuition to go to District 207.
Any other questions? Ginny, can you take the roll, please?
Childers? Lee?
Aye.
Lays? Owen? Keller? Sullivan?
Aye.
McGrath?
Aye. Item 13, approval of bids and awarding of contracts. We have a recommendation with respect to 13A and a motion with respect to 13A and 13B. Questions or comments? Pam, can you just give us a couple minutes, a little bit of explanation on ProCare Therapy?
This is a service that we contract with to provide occupational therapy minutes to students with disabilities that are mandated and required. And this person will serve all 3 high schools.
Okay, so we expect to have one person for a full-time week?
Right.
Okay.
We have enough service minutes to require that.
Okay. And Hank is not here, can anyone speak to integrated data storage?
We have a lot of stuff to save.
It takes to work together.
And where I work, you're told to delete some of that?
We do.
But,
Now, is that technical enough?
it's exempt from the bidding requirements because it's technology storage. Well, we brought it to the board because it's a contract greater than 25,000 that we'll be publishing on the website, so, we're seeking board approval for it.
And do we know how long this additional storage is expected to satisfy our need for stuff, to save stuff?
Hank would always like to say for several years, however, as
6 months?
as a storage little
I
figure
have a feeling it's
myself,
longer than
I
that.
would say that we probably hope that this would last us a year.
Well, and one of the things I would remind the board is we've gone to a lot of cloud-based applications that are helping us reduce our need for storage, including our Gmail, but not limited to that. So we've actually found ways over the last few years to reduce our overall storage needs. We just have some requirements for archiving information that take a lot of storage.
And just in terms of, the discussion a little while ago about the Chromebooks, and is that going to necessitate more storage, or is that cloud-based and part of the?
Actually, probably less that side of it, because we, through the Google Drive, we can store a lot of documents there, already do, and there's a lot of storage available for students and staff to store there. So we think that will actually help us reduce our own internal storage needs.
Jim?
Question, again, related to competitive bidding, related to Procare Therapy or integrated data storage companies. Are we getting a competitive bidding with 2 or 3 companies, and what's the situation related to this?
I can speak for the OTs probably first. We're lucky to get 1 company, so if we could get 3, we would be doing a little happy dance. But the company that we were using, their OT separated with us, and we were just happy to get a single company that could provide the service. On the technology stuff, I believe that Hank is getting multiple quotes.
We bid very aggressively in technology because there are plenty of vendors in that market to bid. So we've been aggressive in all of our technology bids.
Why is it difficult on here? They're just not people who are doing
Our
this?
salary schedule is fairly low. Most of the OTs and PTs are graduating now from programs with their PhD. And I think our starting salary for them is about $55,000, $56,000. And so we're losing out to hospitals and clinics for these people.
Or schools that pay a little more.
And it even goes up to like $115,000 around there, but that's after about 20 years of experience. So
this is related to our MedSep dissolution.
yeah, this is a new position, employee position for us, because we never had our own OTs or PTs when we had the special ed cooperative. So we have to take a look at how we're attracting people to our district with salary benefits.
It's a hard to fill position, and some prefer, or many prefer to work within clinics, which is a different environment from schools.
Are we still continuously getting data for such as women-owned business contractors or minority business contractors into our data for any future opportunities?
Well, in terms of when we do the annual statement of affairs, if after a contract is awarded, we ask for that information. We do not ask for that information up front because we could be accused then as steering business to a minority-owned company, which we're not allowed to do. So, it's one of those, for our major construction contracts, it's one of the disclosures that we ask them to complete after a company is awarded the business. But we have, you know, I think our preference has been to work with companies within District 207 that are taxpayers. So on some of our smaller projects that we don't bid, we see, you know, if you can match pricing with a company that is outside District 207, we'll go, you know, the tie goes to a tax-paying entity. We always seek first to award a contract based on the best price that we can get.
And we are prohibited by state law?
We do not have, well, on bids specifically, we're required to go with the lowest responsible bidder. Anything that's not bid, we have traditionally not done minority subsidies. We go with the best price that we can get.
So our school district does not have a mandatory, like certain percentage that we have to go with, like state have 12.5%, city have 2.5%.
Correct, there are no minority subsidies for the school
For the
district.
school.
I mean, there's no law that requires us to do that. The bidding law specifically precludes us from awarding contracts to anybody but the lowest responsible bidder. That is the language in the school code.
I just want to go back to the ProCare therapy contract for a second. Are we, from what I'm hearing, this is the only, you know, this is the only person you really were able to contract with. And I'm just wondering, you know, what's your plan? I mean, are we really giving these students the best service if there's only one person who's willing to fall within our?
I think
And
we're,
luckily, from the interview, fortunately, from the interview, she seems to be, like, she will deliver quality service, so we're fortunate.
For now.
Yeah, I mean, we recruited and we hired someone. We even, I think the board even allowed her, it was a nepotism policy issue that we waived because she quit after just a couple of weeks or weeks. So that's why we're in a bind here. We had ourselves a nice full-time person straight out of college from USC with her PhD.
She opted to go to clinic.
Question Dr. Carlos follow up, is this, who did we use for previous years, like last year, 2 years, 3 years ago?
Last year, we had contracted employees as well who did not stay.
but previous years, Jen, we used to have a special
But
education
before
co-op.
that,
We were in a co-op with the 3 large elementary districts, 62, 63, and 64, and 207, had a special education co-op, and so the occupational therapists and physical therapists were employees of the co-op. So we
Shared
dissolved that
services.
co-op a couple of years ago, and when we did that, that structure went away.
Is this mean also other school districts facing a same or similar problem?
Yes.
yes, I belong to a region high school directors group, and they too have a problem with OT.
So if you have children thinking about good field, occupational therapy is a good field.
Yeah. Full employment rates.
Are there,
You said that they're gonna be going to all 3, so it's 55 cents a mile every time they go to another school.
Well, we
I mean, I'm
we
just saying that'd be
schedule
part of the
a
contract.
certain day for a school to
Yeah,
try
they're not
to
going to
save
all
money.
3 schools each day.
Oh, okay.
These services are by minutes, Mary, so
Yeah.
student A may have
The
50
IEPs
minutes,
that they
yes,
have
yes.
in the-
So we'll try to be efficient with that.
are there any other questions? Hearing none, Judy, if you'd like to call the roll, please. Owen?
Aye.
Lee? Lees? Keller? Sullivan? Childers? McGrath?
Aye.
Item 14 is the 2014 School Maintenance Grant Program. A recommendation that the board approve the application to the Illinois State Board of Education School Maintenance Project Grant in the amount of $50,000 for monies to be used to offset the cost of building projects already approved by the board. I so move. Childers? Second. Any questions?
I would like to point out that this program is based on need, so I do not expect us to get this money. However, you cannot get money that you have not asked for. So in an effort to, it doesn't hurt to ask. That's why we're approving this grant.
Okay, any questions? No? Then call the roll, please.
Lee?
Aye.
Owen?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Aye.
Childers?
Aye.
Lays?
Aye.
Peller? McGrath?
Aye. Item 15 is a new club proposal for a philosophy club at Maine West. The recommendation is that we approve the establishment of a philosophy club at Maine West High School. I have a motion.
I so move.
Second.
Helen? And any, Audrey, can you tell us a little about this club?
We have a new class that's in its second year, the philosophy class, that's becoming wildly popular. And so there's a group of kids that wanted to meet after school, so they functioned as a group last year, met informally, and now they want to be an official club. There's about 25 kids who show up on a regular basis. They read articles, they read books. They Skyped with the philosopher last year and gave recommendations on their interpretation of his article. So it's a really neat group that just meets after school and philosophizes. They're not here this evening. But they would like to be an official club so that they can run fundraisers and be recognized as an official club.
Great idea. Thank her son.
Yes.
Are there any questions or comments?
It's definitely great to see new activities where clubs are going on in various schools. At the same time, what kind of support that we as a district or school itself are giving it to this kind of a club? Because just having their names or just let them run it by itself, and if we as a school doesn't do anything, that's won't do any good too. But what kind of positive support are we giving to various existing clubs and new clubs?
Well, the teacher of the class runs the group after school, the club after school. He provides articles and books and things like that. They haven't asked for any kind of other support like that?
But I think in order to form a club, there has to be a staff sponsor.
Definitely.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So there is a sponsor, and we do then recognize them through the announcements, and they can advertise then, they can do fundraisers for their own kind of, food after school for their activities.
They're all self-supporting.
Yeah, they're self-supporting.
And then whenever the clubs are asking any support or help through the principals or school itself, we are trying to support that 110% as much as we can, correct?
This is club number 99 at Maine West, because of student interest.
Yeah, we're not short of clubs.
More support for them.
Any other questions? Hearing none, Judy, call the roll, please.
Childers? Aye. Lays?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Sullivan?
Aye.
Peller? Lee?
Aye.
McGrath?
Aye. Okay, item 16 is calendar items. November 11th is a day off, and then we have the district offices are open. School offices are open, okay. The IASB Joint Annual Conference is in Chicago later this month.
Are we doing a fund 15?
I don't have a time and date, place. When is it?
The joint conference?
Not the school board member appreciation day?
You'll have to be appreciated remotely.
We can just go to breakfast, have
However, we do hope to have the new shirts in with the logo, hopefully by then.
Any items to add to the calendar?
Barry wants a buildings and grounds. Sean, do you have a finance committee meeting scheduled in November?
21st, if that's
Because you and I are both on buildings and grounds and finance, so perhaps we could have them on the same day.
works for me.
Maybe after, and then,
it easier for board members too.
Yeah, so the finance committee is 5 to 6.
5:30,
Yeah, there's not that much.
21st, is that what you said?
So we could call the buildings and grounds for 5:30 if you're
because you can always open the meeting
later. Yeah, so 5:30, does that work for you, Jen? A 5:30 meeting on
In
the
21st.
21st?
November 21st?
No,
So Thursday?
yeah,
It is
21st,
Thursday.
okay. Yeah, it would depend on my calendar.
Yeah, 5:30.
You cannot, okay.
Do you still have a quorum though?
Yeah, most
We
welcome.
do, if you're okay, do we have anything significant?
Capital projects for next year.
Okay, maybe you can get the materials
I can
out
get you,
while-
I actually have the materials now, so I will email them. I'll send them out on Friday notes, and then
maybe
you'll
we can
know.
talk on the phone before the meeting, let's get your comments.
Thank you.
5:30, right after.
Maybe just on projects, yeah.
Any other calendar items? Okay, item 17, communications, public comment. We have an item that was deferred from earlier this evening.
This item is in recognition of District 207 Board Member Eric Lace. And I'm going to read the inscription on the award. This award is presented to Eric Lace in recognition of your achievement as IASB Master School Board Member. Thank you for your dedication and support of the youth of Maine Township High School District 207, Cook County, Illinois. By order of the Board of Education of Maine Township High School District 207, and presented this 4th day of November 2013. And I think that this is Eric Lace's maybe 7th year achieving the Master School Board Member through IASB. So something like that. It's been a lot of them. So congratulations very much, Eric.
Dave, do you have your camera with you?
Yes, sir.
Did you get a picture of the superintendent in front of the seal?
No, that is special.
He's just rotating a big wall.
Okay, smile.
Nice.
Big smile. More.
Yes. Let me see.
Is Eric looking too tall? You want me to cut it out?
Thank you very much.
Give me a stool.
And thanks to, those of you, I know many of you have attended the dinner meetings. We had a great representation of the classroom with Dan Miller, and a great program. So those schedules are tough, and I appreciate those of you that come out and supported the IASB program.
But my employer at home send me out of town now. Are there any other public comments or communications?
Communication hopefully, regarding, I just want to bring it out regarding this main college student parking. I read an article which is a very interesting article, and is it okay to bring this out in the communication? You know, basically, the story is about is let's say one particular school in South parking situation. Looks like there are currently roughly 420 spots available for student parking. And then there's a lottery going on, and there's additional students who might be interested, and so on. I guess we are charging $115. Is that $115 per semester or per month, or how's that work? Per year, okay. So I guess that's very competitive prices, very good prices. It sure is, okay. So is that, what's the situation for like Maine West and Maine East High School? Kind of, is it same exact price, and what's
Same
the?
price, but we have plenty of parking lot. Anybody who wants a parking space can have.
Oh, okay, so those two schools, we do not have any problem with at all?
No.
It's a function of South is the smallest campus with the most kids. And there's a lesson in this: never sell property to build homes adjacent to the campus. You may need them for parking spots someday. So all the homes back on Hamlin, the district used to own.
And we can accommodate all of our seniors who would like to park, and then we open that lottery up to juniors. At least since I've been here, we've been able to do that. So we do have to cut some juniors out, but for years prior to that, it was really a senior only.
Do they still go down and park by the cemetery?
They park all
Does it
over.
happen, guys? That still happens?
Yeah,
Okay.
Forest
Reserve.
We did, well, we just had to address the
Our
Forest
students are
Reserve.
very creative
They
and
are.
good problem solvers.
So at least Main South, Main East and Main West, we do not have any problem with the student accessibility to their parking.
No, they have much more space.
Well, they have problems with the affordability of the price we charge them at Main East, but
If they can afford the car, and the gas, and the insurance for that.
But it is the same at all three schools?
yes.
Yes, that was a
Thanks,
conversation
Sarah.
over the last,
Thanks, Sarah.
over several years, we held,
Quality is important.
the price, was it the price at South
Yeah.
level, like?
We had everybody catch up to South.
Everybody catch up, yes.
Decade of working work.
That's why you're a master.
That's right. That master school board member will come in.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? If not, can I have a motion to go into closed session for the matter of student personnel, review of closed session minutes, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, including, setting a price for real estate or lease of real property.
So I make a motion to go to closed session for A, B, C, and F.
Roll, please.
Lee,
Aye.
Childers. Leys.
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Sullivan. Owen. McGrath.
Aye. We're in closed session.